Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with NORML. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It's Friday, March 1st, 2024. You know what that means. It's time to answer all of your burning questions live. Happy Friday, friends. Take a quick second to drop a note in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. I see so many people on Instagram. I love it. I'm so glad we're able to finally stream on that platform as well. Hello, One Eagle One. I hope to give you some good news today. I think I have some good news for you. Hey, Frankie Allison in Winchester. Hey, NORML Maryland. Glad you're watching. Waynesboro. Junior Hustle 365. What do you know about that? Tell us more. Hey, Radhika. Good to see you. Hello, Woodyard Grow in Rich Creek, Virginia. Hey, Fred. Good to see you. Hey, Queen Bee in Virginia Beach. Hey, Folly in Maryland. All right, let's get into it. Hey, Christopher in Georgia. Got some news for you, Christopher. Hey, Christopher. Peachtree NORML is having a meeting this month, so you should go. It's virtual, so even better. Something green. Good to see you. Hi, Tom. I see you. I see you even when you don't say anything. Oh, you're the worst. I don't know what that means, Christopher, but great. It's virtual, so super. All right, let's see. So the big news this week, I think we have two great stories to tell you about. The first one I'm going to share is about Virginia. So Virginia has been working since 2021 now to legalize retail sales for adult use cannabis. See, Democrats had the opportunity back in 2021 when they controlled the House, the Senate, and the governorship to get it all done, but they didn't because some members thought there was some sort of political expediency in kicking the can down the road and saying, okay, well, we'll legalize, but we won't do retail until next year. Now, these same people are going to tell you, oh, we needed it for the votes, as if seasoned lobbyists don't actually have whip counts, as if chiefs of staff don't actually have whip counts, as if members aren't actually telling you what's going on, even though it's a virtual session because it's a pandemic. Look, we call that liar, liar, pants on fire. And Democrats made a huge mistake because then the next session, they were not in control of the governorship or the House of Delegates, and they have not been able to pass a measure to legalize retail sales for adult use since then. So legalization took effect in 2021, failed for retail sales in 22, also failed in 2023, and here we are in 2024, the fourth session we've been going at this, and they finally, Democrats took back control of the House. So they had a very narrow majority that enabled them to pass a measure, which they did, and they've sent it to the governor, who has said he's not interested in cannabis legislation. That's not much of a position statement, is it? It's not a policy position, that's for certain, because the only policy before this dude at this right now is, do you want to apply the same regulatory provisions already used to safely and successfully regulate medical cannabis? I'm not talking about licensing, settle down. But do you want to like regulate it, the sales, the same way that we're already regulating medical cannabis in Virginia? Do you want to apply that to adult use, or Governor Youngkin, do you want to continue to let the illicit market be the so-called regulators of cannabis in the Commonwealth? Those are the only two policy choices before this dude. Let's see which one he's gonna make. Either he likes incentivizing organized crime to stay in your communities, or he thinks marijuana belongs behind an age-verified counter. We'll find out together. Oh, I could just share that with you. There you go. Hey, great question from Jim here about Virginia. He asks, if adult use retail sales do begin, will medical cannabis remain tax-free in Virginia? And the answer is yes. Jim, the answer is in fact yes. Thank you, Caroline. I'm glad you like my feelings. Radhika, that would be sweet, wouldn't it? Hey, Lance, good to see you. Hey, Jason in Minneapolis. Hey, something green. Yeah, anything sold in Virginia has to be grown in Virginia. It's like that in the entire United States. If it's sold in your state, it has to be grown in your state if it's cannabis. So Mr. Bonds asks on Instagram, when does he go to deny or sign? The bills have to be communicated to the governor, and then he has a few weeks to decide if he wants to send amendments back. So he could say, okay, I'm not vetoing it, but I'm going to make these changes, and then it goes back to the legislature on veto day they can accept or reject the amendments. He can straight out veto it, in which case if he vetoes it, that's it. There is not a supermajority to overturn a veto. And he could do nothing, and the bill will just take effect. So those are the options. Kentucky NORML, I have all of your info ready. I got all the new stuff. I'll pop that up there for now. Hey, Grow Music Grow says at least increase the cultivation limits if the bill won't get signed. If there were a bill to increase cultivation limits, that would be possible, but there wasn't. So there's not really a thing that can happen in that regard. Whoa. All right, more good. It's like I've never used a computer before, I'll tell you that much. What's the deadline for him to take action? Veto session, reconvened session in Virginia is April 17th, 2024. So he has to take action by then. Oh, we're not doing that. Not today, friends. Oops. Sorry, didn't mean to show you the terrible stuff. Just want to block it. Hey, Folly. That's right, adult. So, Folly, I'm glad you brought that up about Maryland. It was interesting because in Maryland, they have one of the lowest tax rates for cannabis in the nation at 9%. And there was some appetite amongst Virginia legislators to match that so that people weren't just incentivized to drive to Maryland. So there was an attempt to do it 9%. Ultimately, it had to get bumped up to 11.625% in order to make the budget work. But then there was an appetite amongst Virginia legislators to mirror Maryland's equity provisions. But there was zero appetite amongst Virginia legislators to mirror what Maryland did when it came to beginning sales. Maryland legalized after Virginia, Maryland's governor looked at Virginia and was like, y'all are doing it wrong. We're not doing that. We're going to start sales as soon as possible. Their laws also take effect on July 1. So he said, get ready because sales are going to begin on July 1 at existing operators who pay to get licensed. Virginia could have done this back in 2021, could have done it in 22, could have done it in 23, could have done it in 24, but instead has said, no, you know what? We don't want what happens in every other state. We don't want to do what every other state that's legalized adult use has done. We don't want that. We like to make sure that consumers still engage with the illicit market instead. In fact, consumers, you get in the back of the line. Your interests don't matter here. What matters are the businesses, the hypothetical businesses that may or may not exist, that might possibly want to make money off of you. That's our priority. Let's make sure that we've prioritized business interests. So, Folly, I imagine a lot of Virginians do drive to Maryland. Hey, Dennis, good to see you. Hey, Tom, let's read Tom's question. Can I talk a bit more about the possibility of Youngkin amendments? I can. What changes might he want, and how willing would Democratic lawmakers be to accept the changes in order to get something enacted versus waiting until the next governor to pass something more along the lines of what they want? So we've heard nothing meaningful policy-wise from him or the administration on this issue. We've heard a lot of as you well know, we've heard a lot of non-policy opinions like, I'm not interested. And we've heard some really outlandish claims based on, I don't even want to say studies, but like junk science. There was a claim that was echoed that 30% of people who use cannabis have cannabis use disorder. That's from some study that was done way back in 2016. That once it was published, the Journal of American Medical Association immediately came out rebutting that and saying, no, this isn't valid. So first we had some whining around that. So, that seems to have died down. And now we're hearing, oh, well, there needs to be something about THC and controlling for THC potency, as if we don't already regulate the sale of cannabis in Virginia and have the same consumer safety measures in place in this state that literally every other state has as well. This isn't people that have an opposition to cannabis. They just have an opposition to legal cannabis. They're trying to find these ways to chip away at it. So, we could see some like arbitrary THC limit impositions come down from on high from people who have no expertise whatsoever in cannabis science, policy, or regulation. I don't know what Democrats would do about that. I don't know that I don't know. We have to see what it is. Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of things I can think of. I don't want to put bad thoughts out there. So why don't we just have a less public conversation about that instead? It could be a timeline change. That might be less likely to be objected to. There could be the number of licenses, something like that. But speaking of arbitrary, unscientific THC potency limits and Republicans, what's wrong with Republicans? But some of the people you elect have the dumbest ideas about cannabis policy. In Florida, there was a Republican effort by Republican lawmakers to impose these arbitrary, unscientific restrictions on THC and limit the types of products that Floridians could get in an adult use market before voters have even had the chance to vote on adult use legalization, because they have a ballot initiative there. But what happened with this legislative effort, Senate members failed to advance the bill on the floor, and now they're not at all likely to take up the House's version. So the great news is that these bills are likely dead for the session. Suck on that. Yeah, Philip. So the effort in Florida did die, or is likely dead. It's likely dead. All right. For those of you in the cheap seats who've not been paying attention, or hey, maybe this is your first time tuning in to anything NORML's ever done, let me tell you some good stuff. Not that this is the first study you've ever seen or will ever see. There are a lot of them. Let's throw one more on the pile. Canada did another study. This is their second one. Not that we only have studies out of Canada, but this one is out of Canada, and it's the second one they've done that has the same results. Guess what? Legalization is not linked to upticks in cannabis-related psychosis. We sure let's talk about that though. Legacy market will be strong. Legacy market is strong everywhere. Stencil. Christopher, that is I see your comment because it's all caps. Hey, Christopher is reminding me to remind you, friends, wherever you're watching, hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. Okay, thanks. Hey, Sherry, good to see you. Welcome to the show. It's already off the rails. Hey, yes, Woodyard, you're in, yes, Virginia. So actually, since you bring this up, going back to Virginia, Woodyard says, if we're not allowed to make RSO at home, how can we make our medicine? In this bill, in these adult use retail bills, yours truly did have the language removed that prohibits the safe production of extraction-based products at home. So it would no longer, if this bill gets signed, it would no longer be illegal to do things like use a grinder or cook legally cultivated cannabis flower in butter to make brownies. That's not the way the law was supposed to be written, but unintentionally that is how it's written in Virginia, and that is one of the amendments that I offered, and it was included in the final version. I also asked for a removal of this language that would have allowed a locality to essentially prohibit public possession. It was trying to mirror alcohol and use open container language, but it was like not well written, so I had it removed. Okay. All right, Philip. Hello, pot calls the kettle bong. Okay, Fred. All right. Some more good news for you. This happened a little. Why does this keep showing me things I don't want to see? This happened a little while ago, but you know we're slow. We're not slow. I'm just kidding. I do want to tell you this. Good news. In Germany, lawmakers there advanced a plan, like a cannabis liberalization plan. It doesn't, much like Virginia, it doesn't include retail sales, but it does include like a club model. So people would be able to join cannabis, not-for-profit cannabis clubs, and these clubs would be able to grow cannabis for their members. But the plan allows residents 18 and older, because that's anyhow, it's not America. 18 and older to possess up to 25 grams and to cultivate up to 3 plants at home. So, huzzah. Good job, Germany. Is that really a thing, Philip? Yes, that's really the way code's written. It wasn't on purpose. It just wasn't done well. So I fixed it. All right. A new poll. Is it a poll? Study? Survey? Report came out today. I'm the one telling you this. It'd be helpful if I'm the one who knew. So Pew Research Center. You all know Pew. They do a lot of polls. They did an analysis. And it turns out that 79% of Americans live in a county that has at least one legal licensed cannabis dispensary. 79% of Americans live somewhere where they have at least one cannabis dispensary in their county. What I also like is that Pew used NORML as a resource for their analysis. Hey, Mike, those are a lot of questions. Mike, you should go to Marijuana Moment, marijuanamoment.net, and read their analysis of the bill in Virginia, because it has a lot of those points. Yes, yes, threefold goddess. Well, not for medical cannabis, because medical cannabis is not marijuana under Virginia law. Christopher, sorry about that. All right. Good job, Pew, using NORML as a resource. Love that. Hey, let's talk about some more good information. You know how, Charlie, you don't even live next to a county with a dispensary? I'm sorry, at least you have delivery. Okay. You know how much people love to say, oh, we need more clinical trials. Well, great, I got one for you. Because people act as if there aren't clinical trials about cannabis. There's a clinical trial done that looked at the effects of inhaled cannabis. So in this clinical trial, they used a vaporizer and cannabis flower. And the data do indicate that cannabis is effective at relieving migraine pain. I know, shocking, I know. And what will also be no surprise to anyone, of the chemovars that were used in this clinical trial, the one that had both THC and CBD performed most effectively. So, who uses cannabis for headaches? Instagram, sorry, you know what? Sorry about that, Instagram. It doesn't, I don't see it. I can't see the feed for Tom, you were on NORML's Instagram and then you switched to something else. So what happened? Did it die there? I can't see it anymore. I can see it on Virginia's. All right, all right. Well, look, it worked for a minute. Right, did we do all the news? We did all the news. That was oh no, we one more. We have one more. We have one more. We have one more. um, this is a survey that was done, and 1 in 6 middle-aged adults acknowledge using cannabis. 1 in 6. Is that an accurate number? I don't know. I guess it's just middle-aged adults. But they did. Okay, the findings are consistent with those of others that conclude marijuana use among older Americans continues to increase and outpace all other age groups. This survey was done by investigators affiliated with University of Iowa's College of Public Health. 17% of those between ages 50 and 64 had used cannabis in the past year, as had 4% of those 65 and older. Very interesting. All right. Hey, Wade. Yes, Christopher, I did have some information, not really a story about about Georgia, but I did have some information for you about Georgia. I'll go ahead and drop that in there for you right now. Peachtree NORML is having their second public meeting of 2024. It's March 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is a Zoom, and the Facebook link is there for you because that's where I found it, was on Facebook. I don't have any other information, but, well, I do know that Sharon Ravert will be speaking. She's the former executive director of Peachtree NORML. And hello, Steve. And that's what they're going to do at their March 5th meeting. So if you are in here in Georgia, you should join this meeting. Samantha. Samantha, that's hilarious. Samantha says, I do not trust any cannabis statistics coming out of Iowa, of all states. I mean, listen, first of all, that's very funny. But we'll just go ahead and say that it wasn't the state itself that made put these statistics together, because in that case, yikes. But it, in fact, was investigators from the College of Public Health. So still, your comment is in fact hilarious. Hey, insulin type 1. Insulin says trying to limit THC is just bad policy. NORML agrees. What's to stop a person from smoking 10 joints versus 1? Kind of like alcohol, right? You can do a shot of liquor or drink 2 beers and result is the same. Absolutely. This is called self-titration insulin, and that's what consumers do. This is often a talking point that we reference when lawmakers bring it up. Like, you can go buy a 40 of beer, and you can go buy a 5th of vodka, and while you might pour yourself a pint of beer and enjoy that, you're not likely to also pour yourself a pint of vodka and drink it the same way just because you can. That's not the point. Also, you can only get so high. So anyhow, again, their opposition is to legal cannabis, so they're trying to come up with new ways to like chip away at it. That's the new shtick. Tom, I blame you for breaking Instagram. You were the last person to join, and then it broke. Hey, Mike in Anaheim. You know, Samantha, I thought that Samantha says the number for middle-aged users is significantly low. I thought it was, at first glance, I thought it was low also, but it is the 50 to 64 bracket plus 65 and older. But then we also say that those findings are consistent with other studies as well. So you can see the data citations in the article that I shared, as well as you can look at the NORML fact sheet on cannabis use by older populations. Still, it's the fastest growing consumer segment, but it did strike me as low. But then again, maybe when you look at, you're factoring that into the overall consumption rate. Virginia's consumption rate is apparently 27%, according to the last in-state survey, which is high compared to other statistical analysis sites, which cite it around 20%. See you all on Instagram. Oh, I guess okay, here we go. Insulin, there are standards for THC testing amongst reputable laboratories. That it gets to become a larger problem amongst laboratories and the lack of ethics that exist in that industry when it comes to cannabis. You know. Banks, that's a great question. Banks is asking about Virginia. When commercial sales happen, do you think licensees will be able to get commercial real estate loans? Or do you think they'll be limited to leasing at higher than market rents? Yes and no. This is going to be sad when this is empty. I'm going to have to drink plain water and be sad. Hey, Sarah, you can check out the study on NORML.org on the news section, or scroll up into the comments where I believe I posted. I didn't post it. Did I not post it? Oh, no, I did. I stopped a little earlier. Oh, okay. Yeah, Folly, I don't know that cannabis is the political football that people think it is. Really what they're after is toll reduction, which they already got. So we'll see. All right, let me tell you about some more events that are coming up. Kentucky NORML, I see you. All right, first up, I told you about Peachtree NORML, which is Georgia, has their public meeting March 5th, 7 p.m. Eastern. You can find it on Facebook. It's virtual. Kentucky NORML has their lobby day coming up March 7th at 9 a.m. Eastern. This will be at the Capitol Annex in the cafeteria, which is in the basement in Frankfurt. Link there. No, Christopher. Christopher asks, if there is rescheduling news, do we think it will be breaking news? No. No, I do not think it will be breaking news. It will be interesting news. Certainly not going to be breaking news. All right, back to Kentucky. How will you hear? You'll hear from us. That's how you will hear. We'll send you an email when the DEA says things with their out loud voices. The Kentucky Cannabis Conference is coming up March 7th through 9th. You can get full details at kynormal.org. There's the link to get conference tickets as well. They also have an expo. All right, coming up in April, moving ahead to April. The National Cannabis Policy Summit. Yes, come see me April 17th at the National Cannabis Policy Summit. Details are forthcoming from the National Cannabis Festival website. There's a link for you. If you're just on the festival website, find the drop down that says Summit and go to that. And then, speaking of the National, yes, Brandon, speaking of the National Cannabis Festival, it is now a 2-day event. Congratulations to our friends at NCF for growing their event. It's April 19th and 20th now. You can get tickets and find out more at nationalcannabisfestival.com. One more event coming up for you. The NORML Aspen Legal Seminar. This is May 30th through June 1st at the Gant in Aspen, Colorado. If you are an attorney and you need continuing legal education credits, we got you. We're fully accredited in every state that requires CLEs for their attorneys. If you're an attorney and don't need CLEs, or you're just a person who's not an attorney and don't need CLEs, we'd still love to have you. There's a reduced rate for you. Check it out. And if you're thinking about coming, reserve your room at the Gant early. They sell out. We have a great rate at the Gant, especially if you go with friends. They're all condos with full kitchens. So come to Aspen. Great, Kentucky NORML. I can't wait to see you there. All right, that was so quick. We did all the news so quick. Hey, Kenny. Kenny says, penalties for adult sharing, edibles in Virginia. No, adult sharing is legal. Whoops. Adult sharing is legal, Kenny, in Virginia, as long as you do it in private. So you can't offer or share in public. That's prohibited. If you offer or share in private, that is legal as long as both adults are 21 and it's under 1 ounce. What's not legal is gifting, where you buy a t-shirt and then magically get weed with it. That's not legal in Virginia. But if you want to have your friend over and give them some cannabis you grew, or give them some brownies you made, as long as you're both 21, as long as you do it in private, and as long as no money or services change hands or through a reciprocal transaction, then it's fine. That's legal. That's been legal since 2021. DEA declassification status based on recommendation by FDA. DEA has not responded. You're welcome, Kenny. You're welcome, Kenny. All right. Did I get everyone? I hope I got all of your questions. Hi, Jeremy. I love your go get 'em attitude, friend. Jeremy says, how can I better influence Republicans to see that cannabis legalization is a right-wing, conservative, individual autonomy value, and not just some majority rule, left-wing, liberal drug counterculture? Well, there's so many ways I can address this, Jeremy. I think the sort of peeling of that onion is happening slowly over time. And the approach that worked first, and honestly works best at this point, is medical cannabis, but only for those people who need it, right? Virginia is a great example of this. So was Georgia, so was Texas. These states all started with similar limited use, limited allowance, limited legal protection for medical cannabis patients that had a very specific diagnosis, because children are sympathetic. Adults are not. No one cares about adults. But children, pretty much anyone can look at a child that's suffering and say, oh, I feel bad for them. Here, let me help you somehow. As long as it doesn't help too many people. Then once the emotional comfort builds around that, then you can keep expanding. So we went from 2015 in Virginia, where cannabis was fully illegal, and we had this tiny little limited affirmative defense bill for essentially children with severe forms of epilepsy that passed, and for CBD preparations, CBD and THCA, doesn't matter. Anyhow, very limited in 2015. 2021, legalized adult use. So you can get there. You just have to start with what works, and what works is something that is emotionally comfortable for those people. They don't care about freedom or liberty or tax revenue. Those are not their talking points around cannabis. They have big bad feelings around cannabis. Cannabis is bad. They have deep pockets around criminalization. There are entities that fund them that like cannabis illegal, and this is what keeps their mindset there. So you have to, as well intended as it may be, it's really that chipping away that has to happen, and you have to build that emotional comfort around that. Look, our medical cannabis bill, we have a medical cannabis bill every year, at least one in Virginia, to just sort of do some cleanup on the program. It sailed through on the rocket docket. It got out of subcommittee unanimously and then was voted through completely unanimously in support. You can do that. It just takes a while to get there. Also, these two things I would be remiss if I did not say. Number one, friends, elections have consequences. Stop electing people who suck on cannabis policy if that's an issue for you that you care about. I assume it is because you're here watching this show. Elections have consequences. You have to vote better. You have to vote better. So make good choices. You have to. Speaking of voting, Super Tuesday is March 5th for a lot of you. It is here in Virginia. So go vote, please. Voting matters. Maybe you're like, yeah, I don't want to vote, and maybe there's not a Democratic primary where you are. You can still vote possibly in the other primary if that's your cup of tea. Some states don't require you to pledge your allegiance in order to vote in certain primaries. So you could be influencing the other party's primary if you were so inclined to do that. But I'm telling you this because you can check out NORML's Smoke the Vote voter guide to legalizing marijuana in your state. Oh, that's really not the name it should have anymore, is it? Check out Smoke the Vote before you head to the polls. Not necessarily, not just in a presidential primary, but really any day. If you're going to go vote, check out the voter guide, vote.norml.org, and go vote. And elect people who don't suck. And then once they are elected, even if they are terrible, go talk to them in a polite and friendly way. Let them know, hey, speaking of that, we went down a great rabbit hole here. There's very likely cannabis legislation pending in your state. You know how you would know that? You would know that. Can we paste this? Are we using the paste function today? Thank you. You would know that if you went to the NORML Take Action Center. What a fun name that is. norml.org/act. And then you can see legislation that's pending. Thank you, Christopher. Then you can see what's pending in your state. I can see that there are a total of 69 marijuana-related bills that we are tracking. Doesn't mean there's only 69 in the country. It just means there are 69 that we are focused on right now at NORML. I see 69 of them on our tracker. So Go there. Take action. Because if your lawmakers aren't hearing from you that this is an issue that's important, they're not going to care. Sometimes they're not going to care anyway, but you still have to tell them. Let's just take a quick peek here. I'm going to look and see how many people have contacted Governor Youngkin to say that he should sign the retail sales bill. 3,373 people. Yeah, there are some others that are. Let's look at Pennsylvania's legalization alert. Pennsylvania has a legalization alert. Only 871 people have sent letters in support of legalization in Pennsylvania. So hey, go do this, go do things. Use our action center. It's free, there's clicks. It takes no time. I mean, yeah, you can be a Republican and have your cannabis values. I mean, I think there are plenty of people like that get elected. What matters is when they go to caucus and caucus says this is how we're voting, and then Republicans vote the way caucus is voting. There was only one Republican in the Senate and one Republican in the House who voted in favor of the retail sales bills. Though I know personally there are many Republicans in both chambers who support legalizing retail sales. So, like, your personal opinion and then how you vote when it's time to push the button are often two very different things. Yeah, that is accurate, Insulin. Yeah. One party knows how to toe the line. The other not so much. Yeah, you do. You have to chip away. Mm-hmm. You sure do. Fortunately, younger Republicans are smarter Republicans, at least on cannabis. Hey, Jay Curry, do we think the governor will let this go through? It's a great question. It's the $1 million question. Let's find out together. All right, friends, this has been exactly Insulin. This has been delightful as always. Before we part ways this afternoon, please hit that like, follow, or subscribe button wherever you're watching so you never miss when NORML goes live. Hey, you know what's delivering tomorrow morning at around 9 a.m.? The weekend weed read. Wouldn't it be nice if you got the weekend weed read in your inbox? It sure would. Let me help you. Here's a link. Go to norml.org/subscribe and just check the weekend weed read box. And then you'll get it Saturday morning, like around 9:15. Great way to start your weekend. I hope West Virginia gets it together too. Petunia, I'm glad you are advocating for reciprocity. Reciprocity is important. Thank you for doing that. Hey, Kellyanne. Thanks so much for asking about how to send letters in Pennsylvania. Just go to the NORML Take Action Center. It's at norml.org/act. And you'll find it right there. I will drop the link for you right now for the Pennsylvania legalization action alert. There it is, friend. There are other action alerts for Pennsylvania. There's also one to stop arresting minor marijuana offenders. So hop in there in the action center and send both of them. We need this template for all states, Christopher. Do you mean the Action Center, because yes, it's specific to legislation. I feel like you said North Carolina. Christopher, we have a medical cannabis action alert for North Carolina. Yeah. There's the North Carolina one right there in the comments. Also on our action page. Go there, do that. There are 69 action alerts pending, available for you to use in the Take Action Center. I see Washington, California, Utah, Wyoming, Wisconsin. What state is that? Iowa, Missouri, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maine, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Hawaii. Do I have one for Ohio? Hey, Anton. Do I have one for Ohio? Yes. We have one in Ohio. It's been very popular. It is called Tell Ohio Lawmakers to Respect Voters and Leave Issue 2 Alone. To basically get off my lawn. We have a lot of federal action alerts as well on this. So even if there isn't a state one, we have a page for Ohio, like Ohio NORML. You can find Ohio NORML on Facebook. I don't know if they have a website off the top of my head, but you can find all of our chapters on our chapters page at norml.org/chapters. All right, friends, this has been great. Let's try to do it all again next time. So before we say goodbye, please hit that like, follow, or subscribe button wherever you're watching so you never miss when NORML goes live. If you have not yet gotten your 2024 NORML membership card, if you do it right now, if you do it before Monday, then I'll send it out in this next batch, because I'm not sending them out right now. But if you do it before Monday, you'll get it in the next batch. I'd love to mail you one. Was that the right one? It was the right one. I'd love to mail you one. So go to norml.org/join and join NORML and get a membership card. Awesome. All right, friends, this has been great. Hey, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thanks so much for spending this time with me, and I'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye.